We'll just record it and then we can start and people can come and trickle in as they're able. So thank you for being here. Welcome in. My name is Lynn Galliano. I am the CCO of Behavior Therapy and wanted to welcome you all and wanted to just kind of like mark the occasion of the fact that we are now open and we are taking clients and just kind of celebrate the fact that we have this great new company and also have some free offerings for our families. So, first and foremost, I want to introduce Aman Singh, who's the president and CEO of Behavior Therapy. And Aman, you can kind of introduce yourself and maybe say a few words about why you chose to start Behavior Therapy.
Thank you, Lynn. Hey, everyone. My name is Aman Singh. I'm the president and CEO of Behavior Therapy. As first of all, thank you for all joining right now on the evening time on the Pacific coast. Um, the reason why we started this company is a couple of reasons. My wife, Manpreet, she's a school psychologist. We have another company. She has a couple of contracts in the Bay Area where she's supporting special need based kids in the school setting. We always thought about how can we kind of tackle something outside of school time, and ABA was a natural kind of progression. We kind of just been a little bit sleeping on it, but then our toddler, who's 2 now, we kind of got to learn that she potentially could be on the spectrum herself. So that kind of gave us the little more fire that, hey, and during the process, we got to learn families are waiting for months, sometimes even year. That was a heartbreaking kind of to kind of really learn that part. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And now what can we do about it then? So I took this personal mission of leaving my career behind and resigning from there. And we started this company back in June. This whole project came about. We need to expedite the process. We need to put some good clinicians out in the field. Make sure what can we do to support the proper way for an agency, so we can support families, support clients, give them the care that they need. And that's our, my personal kind of a goal has been, and connecting with Lynn allowed me to really kind of spearhead this project. And here we are today, officially launching to the kind of to the families, to local communities out here. So that's why the origin of the company is, and excited to see what we're able to do in our local community, and then kind of go down to other communities as well, families who are waiting for these kind of good quality services.
Awesome. Thank you, Aman. And I'm really glad that you guys found me and decided to do this. This is really exciting. Uh,
Likewise.
thanks. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about our mission and, kind of what we believe in and what makes us different. I think our mission is to treat families and frontline staff with dignity, compassion, and respect for each individual family's culture. One of the ways we do this is through coordinated care with other members of the team, like the extended family, maybe your teachers, SLP, OT, speech pathologist, occupational therapist, physical therapists, other providers providing support with solid evidence-based ABA treatment. We offer personalized care and attention and support family self-determination, meaning you have the right to make decisions for your child and for your family. We aim to recognize the children and family's strengths and abilities and build on those foundational skills to teach socially significant goals, meaning the goals that are really important to you and to your kids. Not every single goal that might be in an assessment tool is applicable or relevant or important to you. So we do everything very custom tailored to you and your family. Um, our clients, your children, should be happy, relaxed, and engaged for optimum learning and overall well-being. And we are very child-led and play-based and trauma-informed, all of those words. But what that really means is that we're going to let your family and your child kind of lead, and you guys are the experts with your children, and we just come in with expertise in the field of applied behavior analysis. So I wanted to also mention that in addition to ABA, So as an ABA provider, we do take insurance. We take Kaiser, Aetna, Anthem, Alameda Alliance. I think,
Medical.
yes, Medi-Cal. That's what's the UH United Health. I think we have a contract with them. So, and then we are working on school district contracts. We obviously do private pay. Um, but one of the things, and we're going to be, we're working on a regional center behavioral contract. But in addition to that, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is our plan to branch into adult services because um, there's a lot of you that have kids that are, guess what? They're going to grow up, and some of them may need services after they're 18. And I've worked with adults before, and I wanted to make sure that there isn't that giant drop off of like, okay, no more ABA. What do I do now? My kid still needs support. So today, my team met with one of the local Bay Area regional centers and we got the green light to start developing a tailored day service program, community integrated day program. And that's just in one of the regional center catchment areas. We're going to be looking to expand across the state of California, Nevada, maybe Arizona, and Oregon, so that we can do ABA in all of those places as well as adult services. So adult services might look like independent living services, again, tailored day services, community integrated programs. And then there's a new program that regional centers out here are piloting called coordinated family services, where if you have an adult child that lives at home, that they're able to get out into the community. They don't have to live in a group home or supported living to get like service coordination and support. So we're going to be looking at all of that. And um, I think at this point, maybe I'm going to introduce Paul Hanhan. He um, just joined us because he's been out working in the field with clients and hard workings, and that's what we do here. So Paul, if you would like to introduce yourself, Paul's a BCBA and our Director of Development, and you can maybe say a few words from the clinical side of things if you have some words to share. We are recording this, just so you know. Oh, you need to be unmuted. Sorry, sorry. There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. And thank you all so much for being here. Yeah, please excuse my tardiness. I did just come from a client's home. As far as, what things are from the clinical perspective, let my lack of punctuality serve as where our priorities really lie, which is with the families, with the learners, whom whom we want to produce the best outcomes for. Um, I think that it's I think that it's a prerequisite to be a part of our team to put our clients first and to put our learners first. I think it's important that whatever strategies or treatment plans we put in place, the priority needs to be the outcome and that our families and that our learners get to attain, right? We one of the hats that I wear here at our agency is I'm what's called the director of technology as well. And the reason I took on this role is because when I first got into this field about 15 years ago, I constantly had the experience of working with families and either witnessing my supervisors spending just, I guess, pretty much their entire appointment on their computer, maybe responding to emails, maybe writing reports. And then as I became a supervisor myself, I became acutely aware of how little of my attention I was able to place on my clients and on my learners, and how demanding I guess, like the technical and the administrative aspect. Part of my role in this company has been to automate the systems that we use such that our clinicians can devote as much of their undivided attention to the human beings in front of them as humanly possible, without needing to worry about report deadlines, without the encroaching need that technology demands from us and demands from our attention. We want to spend that attention on our families and on our clients, and that's something that I've personally made a priority of mine as I help Amin and Lynn and the rest of our team build a path forward. So thank you for allowing me to speak with you, and I wanted to share with you all that that is just one thing I personally am trying to contribute to this team that I think sets Behavia apart from maybe some other service providers that are offering similar services.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Paul. And then, excuse me, I want to introduce our guest speaker, Kathy. Kathy Matthews. Kathy holds a master's degree and PhD from Columbia University, New York. While living in New York, she's worked in special education as a teacher, services coordinator, and consultant. And then after that, she returned to Virginia to serve as executive director of the Faison Center, helping establish lifelong residential, clinical, and inclusive services. She currently serves as the chief family strategist and advocate at All Needs Planning and is also a visiting professor at the University of Virginia, teaching behavior analysis. Kathy has over 25 years of experience helping individuals and families, but her most treasured role is as a parent. As the mother of two children with disabilities, Kathy is proud to be a part of All Needs Planning, walking alongside the individuals and families that she supports. And thank you, Kathy, so much for being here with us tonight.
Oh, thank you. I am so excited to be here and to be with all of you. And of course, my background is in behavior analysis. So I've been in this field for a long time. I'm licensed here in Virginia and certainly certified by the BACB. But along my journey, and Aman, you kind of alluded to this too. I had my own child with autism, and here I was running, an ABA center and having my own child suddenly become one of the learners there. And so, in going through that experience, I really pivoted to, well, what happens after all this, after we're here at the school and all that good stuff. So certainly was very committed to adult services, residential or inclusive supported living opportunities, and ended up meeting another amazing mom. And she had the idea to start All Needs Planning, which is truly special needs planning and answering the question, what happens when I'm no longer here? We want to answer that question for ourselves and also for the families that we support. So that's really in general what's behind All Needs Planning. And again, I love what I'm going to be talking about, of course, because I feel like it's so complementary to what you all are doing. You're working with families and you also have your eye on there's a next step, there's more, and you'd like to help meet that need of the folks in your community and expand beyond. I love how you're moving kind of nationally and beyond, and that's really thrilling and extremely challenging. So I just commend all of you, and I'm just really honored to be able to talk with you and complement what it is that you're already doing. So this is, I'll try and go into this and make sure I'm saving some time for questions. We provide this sort of timeline to families, and it helps to think about where you are. Stage one is where folks sometimes start, where they get that early diagnosis and they're trying to figure out, in about 2 seconds as parents, we have to become experts, right? We have to know everything about the diagnosis and the right therapist and interventions. And that's that's pretty much what's going on at that time. Stage two, those are the schooling years between age, 3 to about 18, where we have the advantage of being in a structure that's already built, regardless of the type of schooling you go to, whether it's homeschooling, private schooling, public schooling. But the fact is, it's there, and it is a resource that's available for everyone to take advantage of. But then, of course, what happens after that, as we move into stage three, that's where we're 17 and beyond, or 18 and beyond. We're into adulthood. And I believe in Lynn, I felt like I heard this passion in your voice that adulthood is great. It's where we spend most of our time. We just sometimes need a lot of help there, supports and services. And so I think it's so amazing that your company is already diving into that and looking ahead and beginning that journey and support for individuals and families. So that what happens certainly during this stage is we're our own person as adults, the person with a disability. They may need some decision support. They may or may not be working enough to cover their expenses, and they may need some additional support, whether that's from families or other professionals or a combination. But that's also the time when often parents are starting to retire as their children are becoming adults. The parents are of course aging and looking at what's going to happen in their future. And so this is really a time where we want things to be sorted out, have a really good plan at this time. And then stage four is that part as a parent we always we don't want to think about. And now that I do this work, I talk about dying all the time, but it's truly, this is the part where we're not here and our loved one is, and we actually find, and the research supports, that if we do things about that now, it's not as scary. We can start to feel better and prepared for that. Everything, I do want to say that special needs planning, which is the financial stuff, the legal stuff, and advocacy and services, it's completely overwhelming. And this is why a lot of families struggle to put these pieces together, because where do I start? What am I supposed to do first? I don't, when you said Medi-Cal, I don't know what that is. I don't know what's Social Security, what's vocational rehabilitation, all of these terms, it can feel really overwhelming. And what we've done at our company that we feel sets this apart and makes this doable for families is that we've set it up as a strategy so that there really is an order to working through the chaos, and to better understanding. So I'm going to be using this model, and we really invite individuals and families to think this way to help feel a bit more clear about what to do first, what to do next, and what to do, following that. So care is at the foundation. This is the hardest part. This is building your financial plan, putting together a support plan and care plan, and then getting those benefits. If you're needing services from the regional center, if you're needing to go ahead and set up, an ABLE account as part of your financial plan, if you're needing Social Security benefits, all of that is part of our care plan. And I'll talk more about that. The care piece of the strategy. But there's a way to do that. And once you get all that done, now we need to just wrap it up in protections like special needs trusts, micro boards, supported decision making, tools like that. And then when that's all sealed up, we can actually grow. This is my favorite part, actually, at our company. We call this kind of the legacy stage for our families, because when they get the care and protections done through that strategy, they just, they're breathing okay, I can see the future. I can keep going. So I'll talk a little bit about both the stages and how they fit into care, protect, grow. So as I mentioned, for those stage one folks, so birth to three, early diagnosis, getting into services, working with all the specialists, they're getting to know that diagnosis, identifying the early intervention, looking at therapies, both, in the home, in the community, in centers. Parents, again, are starting to become those experts. Parents and caregivers are on a learning curve. They're getting trained, instructed, all that good stuff is happening. And then we're starting to build the funding for these services and support. supports, excuse me. So at this time, for families when they're really in this early stage, we would say for any family, make sure that you have a will because we really want to make a decision if something does tragically happen to us about who's going to step in and be a guardian for our minor children, our minor age children. Also, it can help to go ahead and do a letter of intent that really describes your intentions. Hey, I have this young child and I was really thinking X, Y, and Z. And I noticed that it's really important for my child to do this, that, and the other. And this would be great if this could keep going. And then it is good in your will if you can establish what's called a springing trust, a trust that you talk in your will about, hey, if my child needs funds later in life or needs a special needs trust, I give permission for that to be created. And what's really important about that is that for our loved ones that are going to need public benefits, Medicaid, the Medicaid waiver, the Social Security benefits, we have to make sure that that individual with a disability that their assets are under $2,000. So we don't want them to get an accidental inheritance. So when we set up a special needs trust or we speak in our will to a special needs trust being created on their behalf, that puts some protection around them should an accidental inheritance happen. And we do see those things happen. This is also a really good time in this early stage to really maximize your employee benefits. A lot of times, when you have a job, you fill out like 100 forms and paperwork to get signed up and you're just trying to move through it. This is actually a really great time to maximize benefits, disability insurance, group life insurance, things like that. So again, should something happen, you've really got all these layers of support and resources that could come, flowing in the event of a tragic situation. And this is also a good time on the investment side to really think about your strategy. That's sometimes folks don't think about that, but as parents, we're planning for 2 lifetimes. I'm going to get to a place where I can't work and I'm going to need support. But in the meantime, I have 2 children with disabilities and I don't know how independent they're going to be. So I'm really having to plan for 2 lifetimes of funding support. So an investment strategy, really looking into what's possible here in my situation to account for 2 lifetimes. That also involves understanding the expenses of your loved one, which we'll go into a little bit. And starting to establish some of those great routines at this stage is so important. So thinking about respite. Sometimes families early on are just they're not using caregivers, paid caregivers, or anybody. But think about yourself, your wellness, and your need to recoup as well. So getting into habit of respite is wonderful. And thinking about things like going ahead and setting up an ABLE account in your state, Cal ABLE, setting up a care plan. That's where we're going to write down all the things that we do to support our loved one. This is like trying to pour out, all the things that are in your head. I think about my son. You really need to give him his medicine when he first wakes up and then just give him like 20 minutes. And then you can talk to him. He's just not ready. Those kinds of little tips and things are great to get on paper or onto a document that can be shared. And also, if there are other children, thinking just early on about how to support them, which just might be, hey, I've got my ABA therapist coming into the home all the time, but my other kiddo that's not getting services, what am I going to do to support them and maybe have some special time with them? Because even though to us it looks like therapy coming in, to the non-disabled sibling, it might look like, hey, who's the cool person coming over here to play with my brother all the time? Just to give a little spotlight on an ABLE account, and you have this ABLE it stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. And it was designed because of what I just mentioned about that $2,000 maximum resource. So in order to access public benefits, an individual accessing them needs to maintain assets under $2,000. And so that that's tough. I would like, I think anyone trying to live on that amount of money, and we know obviously it's a struggle for many people, and this is certainly a challenging thing in general. But what families of individuals with disabilities were saying, gosh, we're putting, my child needs all these public benefits, yet I'm putting them in a position where they are not allowed to save money because they'll lose their access to these important benefit programs. So ABLE was developed to say, actually, here's a way. We're going to make an exception. You can put it in this account under these conditions, and it can go up to $100,000. So you can contribute up to $19,000 a year, and there's some great changes that are going on with ABLE in 2026 to extend the years of eligibility. So this is just something to really consider in your planning. It doesn't mean during stage one you need to go out, necessarily and do it, but just keep an eye on this. What's really great, and we recommend folks, is that if you end up having a special needs trust, you can set it up so that the trustee is making regular distributions to the ABLE for on behalf of the person with the disability. And they can spend their ABLE account on all the things related to their disability related expenses. But if the individual with the disability, part of their social activity is going to the movies, they can use their ABLE funds to pay for that. If part of what they like to do is take, equine therapy, they can pay for that therapy with the ABLE. If they like to go to Disney World once a year, they can use their ABLE funds to go to Disney World. So it's it's actually more robust and open than people realize. The next stage, those schooling years are really great. We highly recommend maximizing those supports. And when I say that, what I mean is that there are particularly a lot of evaluations. If your loved one is on a 504 plan or receiving special education, they may not be, but if they are, those eligibility hearings for those services provide a ton of, excuse me, assessment information. Excuse me. They provide assessments, evaluations, really rich information that actually, when you're applying for Social Security benefits, if you need them, or other benefits, having all this rich information in childhood that states your disability, that describes your needs toward the end of the schooling years. It could even point to or describe the extent to which someone might be able to work. Excuse me. All of that can be really, really helpful later on. So during those schooling years, we're doing a lot of stuff to learn and develop socially and all those great things and routines. But it's also a time to think about some of the information that I'm capturing here in the schooling years may be helpful later on. Again, we want to continue with the care plan, documenting our needs and sharing those with others. This also is a great time if you haven't thought about applying for Medicaid waiver services. This might be something you need to do, and that does involve going to your regional center, going through that eligibility process, talking with folks there. There are a variety of different waivers and circumstances, eligibility requirements, but it's worth having that conversation. Sometimes we'll talk to people that say, hey, I know I'm not going to be eligible, or hey, our income exceeds what's allowable. We really recommend don't put those barriers in place. Have the conversation, find out, make that phone call, go down there, see what's available to you, and if that makes sense. Also, transition planning. So transition planning really starts at age 14. And there are, job coaching, vocational rehabilitation services, internships, all kinds of support at this time, but it doesn't always come knocking on your door. You need to be talking to the school. If you have a case manager or you're working with the regional center, having those conversations and being proactive about it. And it's important to be mindful about this because, again, there's a lot going on during this time. We're going to school. Often parents are working. It's busy. So saying, hey, I want to make sure I'm asking for this person to come to my meeting. I'm asking for time. I'm asking questions about, services and opportunities is going to be really important. And now that we're in the schooling years, we really want to start thinking about that estate planning. Again, in stage one, we really want to at least have a will in an emergency situation. But now we want, really any adult should have someone designated to help them with decisions. For minor children, it's just a given, their parents are going to make decisions for them. But when we get to adulthood, we need to, and all of us on this session have designated someone as power of attorney, have an advanced medical directive, have a family trust, have a special needs trust. When I talk about trust, it's not about wealth at all. It is about protecting our loved ones' benefits. So if anyone is ever saying, "Oh, we don't have enough money to have a trust," are for really wealthy people. They're not for us. For families of children with disabilities, they are protective. They are protecting their benefits, whether they're on them now or they might potentially need them later. We want to have that in place. There are community trust and pooled trust, which are great options, especially for folks that don't have a lot of assets or means. And then there are your standard estate planning trusts. So we just highly recommend doing that. We also recommend during this time doing a cost of care, really sitting down and thinking about the cost of care for your loved one. And what I really mean is, and it's so hard when you're in a household together, but how much am I spending on food? How much am I spending on copays if I have to, therapies, equipment, transportation to get from here to there? And then what would it cost if I wasn't here and I needed to pay or have somebody else step into my shoes? You can actually, when you do a systematic cost of care that's going into both kind of room and board expenses as well as caregiving, you can actually get a number. And that number is going to be a big, scary number, but it's like kind of a relief. I'm going to be honest with you. I love when we do this with our family, seeing it. So like, okay, that's the number. And then you can think about, can I meet that number? Do I need to not worry about that number because my loved one is going to continue to be on public benefits? Or you might say, maybe I should purchase some life insurance or do something so I have a little fail safe in the event that I can't meet my loved one's cost of care. And the same thing has to go for ourselves as adults. What is our cost of care? When we get into retirement, 70% of adults need long-term care as they age. So it's very likely that you're going to be paying out of pocket for healthcare in your future, everyone, all of us. So we need to think about where are those funds? How is that going to be handled? And again, in terms of the grow part, we want to think about that investment strategy. We want to think about what are the goals for every member of the family and how are we going to maintain the supports that our loved one is needing. So the care portion of your financial plan, and this all isn't just financial. There's a financial piece, there's an estate piece, and there's certainly advocacy and services. But your financial plan should really address what's the cost of care of my loved one? How much do I need in retirement? Do I have any other goals that need funding? Am I trying to take a trip somewhere? Am I expecting, some big change that I need to support? And then it should identify those gaps and then create a strategy to fill those gaps. So I do just want to touch quickly on trust. As I mentioned, there are first and third party trusts. First party trusts are created by the person with a disability. And what that means is when I mentioned that accidental inheritance, so if, grandma leaves, my son $5,000 when she passes away, he can't have that because he needs to be able to, he's on a wait list for services. And so I want to make sure that he can access them and he's not over resourced. So he would have to immediately create a first party trust. So an attorney would work with us to help create one on his behalf. The money would go in there and it is subject to payback. Meaning if it's not all spent, the state could come back and say, hey, we gave you public benefits. You have some cash left over in this first party trust. We need to take that back. A third party special needs trust is where another person, a third party like myself, creates a trust for my son. So right now, my son, I've done that for him, but there are no funds in it. It's not funded. It only gets funded when I'm not here anymore, because it's just what I'm leaving behind is going to go into that trust. So it's called a third party because I've set it up on his behalf. And I also have a remainder beneficiary. It isn't subject to a payback. So I'm actually able to, if he does not use all the funds, they go down through the family line. I also want to make sure I say to you all, microboards. Microboards are amazing no matter what stage you are in. It is a formal circle of support. This is a legally registered entity as a nonprofit, but we don't recommend funding it. But it's really a source of advocacy. So it's a group of people that care about you, your family. These could be your friends, neighbors, coworkers. It could be your loved ones, favorite teacher, therapist, whoever it is. And they come together on behalf of that person with a disability. And they meet just like any board of directors a few times a year. They keep many meeting minutes. They have goals, and their role is to learn about your loved one the way you know them. It's like looking under the hood. And then they start to act on behalf. They can serve as advocates. We have microboards that start going with the parents to meetings. They start helping to make phone calls. These are people I think about. I've so few people that I would call to come over and like take over for me, but like they could come to a meeting and offer some really great advice and assist me in other ways. So that's what a microboard is. I just wanted to make sure I put that on your radar. So all these things, because it's something you could really start building at any time. They take a few years to really get going because you don't want to have too many meetings at once. But between decision-making support, your legal documents, the trust, the microboard, they can all be working together on behalf of your loved one. The last two stages I just wanted to go over real quick. Stage 3, this is our loved one turning 18 until the time we as parents retire. So we want to look at services. What are those adult home and community-based services? Supported living, in-home support, community engagement. So we want to look and understand those services. I always advise my families, you need to go visit, tour, understand, get involved. It might not be something you're trying to get engaged with or execute immediately, but you want to know what's out there and know what's available and start following and paying attention to organizations that you like. You need to keep that care plan you made updated, and again, continue to address those funding strategies and make sure you're on track to address those two lifetimes. Um, Legal supports at age 18, we really need to think about decision making. So, is my loved one making their own decisions and they just need to designate somebody as a power of attorney, just like all of us should do as an adult in case we're incapacitated? Does my loved one need guardianship, conservatorship? Do they need supported decision making? There are some different avenues there, and all of that working in conjunction with the microboard can really, it's like a machine, it keeps moving on behalf of your loved one. You also want to, excuse me, make sure, if you haven't by now, really think about public benefits, particularly things like Social Security. We are certainly not saying everybody needs a Social Security benefit, but if it's something, if at all you're worried that your loved one may not work enough to cover their own expenses and the resources may not be there, this is an important resource. And there is really a window of time between 18 and 22 that you want to apply and go through a disability determination. So that's a lot of details to cover, but I just say some families wait until age 26 when their loved one is no longer on their health insurance plan. And that actually is sometimes too late, and it can make applying for Social Security a little bit harder when you've waited that long. After the parents die, if we've done all this preparation, we've got our microboard going, we have an estate plan, we're plugged into services, things should keep going, right? Because we've put people into place via the microboard, trustees and others, and they have a care plan and they've come into contact with their loved one and they've been working through this, that should just keep going. And really, upon our passing, those instructions are there and we've been practicing, we've been involved, and it just continues to flow. So our loved ones should continue to grow their relationships. Things should continue to move along. And if you're working with different agencies, you've really built up those relationships to keep that lasting. And then you have the backing of that special needs plan to really secure it. I did just want to, because I know we wanted to have some time for questions. Just wanted to introduce you to my team. We are a national organization. I'm actually all the way on the East Coast, but some of our other team members here are in Washington State, actually, so a little bit closer to you than I am. And one of the bits too is just know that we do have a learning lab. So if anyone is just looking for, we actually have a workshop coming up next week through the All Needs Learning Lab.com. Just if ever folks are looking for, hey, where are more resources and videos for some of the topics covered tonight? It's all housed in there and certainly accessible. And I think, oops, I think I'm going the wrong way. I think that was all I wanted to go over, though. I know I did it in like a whirlwind. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
That was amazing,
Oh,
Kathy. We're
good.
so honored to have you. I just learned so much. I mean, I don't, my daughter's 26 and she's not necessarily special needs. She has some medical needs.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, I feel like I just learned about stuff I could be doing for anyone, not just, I mean, there's just a lot of information that's super useful for all of us.
Thank
You
you.
really are a fabulous resource. I have made it, enabled it so that people can unmute themselves. So feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions. Amin, I see your hand up there.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Kathy, thank you so much. This is, I mean, for me, as a parent, as starting this kind of a agency as well, I think I wasn't even aware of this information myself. So I think this
Okay.
is a great opportunity for all of us to learn. So thank you so much for taking time out to join us today, presenting to the family, presenting to us as well. I was gonna say that. I saw the QR code. Is there your team able to guide, families as well, maybe kind of doing sort of hand holding or point
Mhm.
them to a direction? Does your team offer anything like that or no?
We do. We have a couple different ways. So one is, yes, through we would call it a partnership or ongoing relationship. So that's actually how we do most of our services. And so it is very much when you said handholding or concierge, we actually develop a roadmap with our families where we basically assess their situation. Where are you? What stage are you in? What do you already have done? What do you need to do? What's your pain point? What right now needs to change in order for you to get through. And we execute that action roadmap for them. And there's sort of a 6 month execution based on the goals that we've all determined together and we've agreed to work on, and then we do ongoing meetings about every quarter, but we're always available in between them. But we do feel when families commit to this and work with us, it's the work is there to do, and we do it, and every state is really set up conceptually the same way. So you can act, pretty quickly, but we're also mindful that every family's in their own place. So we have some families that go really fast and they're getting everything set up, and we're just continuing to support them and pivot as things in life change. I was at two IEP meetings today. So as things happen and we've got to pop up and do stuff, we do it. But we have other families that just need more time. And so that might be, they might have one goal that takes 6 months to complete, and that's totally okay. I mean, you just have to be ready to do that. So that's our primary business model that we use. The learning lab that I just mentioned is kind of how I think Lynn and I connected a little bit, but it's a newer endeavor. So that is something we opened up on September, October. Now I'm blanking on the month that we started it. So it's not been open long at all, but it has dozens of videos in it and handouts and worksheets as well.
Got it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I was just answering Elvia's question. She was asking if she could have a copy of the presentation. So
Mhm.
I'm going to turn off recording in a second in case people want to unmute themselves and not, and turn their camera on and not be recorded.
Of
Before
course.
I do that, I wanted to do a couple of things. One, you've got some downloads, and so I just popped that in the chat. We do too. So there's some free downloads. It's on our website. You just follow that tab and you guys can access the downloads. Kathy's is obvious. It's about all needs planning. I want to talk really briefly about the ones that I did for us, which is basically like there's some printable sheets that have little stickers or tiles with different kids' faces and different emotions and different actions and activities that you might find your child doing. And then there's a page that is just called My Life. I think I printed some out. So this is the My Life, and I probably have a background on which is blurring it. And then there's some sheets like this. But basically, you can print it out and it says things like, I am sad, I am happy, I stayed safe, I feel worried, I am angry, I feel excited, I waited my turn, I asked for help. And then on their weekly schedule, not schedule, weekly, it's just my life. It's the days of the week, morning, afternoon, evening. If you print them and you have some Velcro, you can laminate these. I recommend that. But if you don't, you can just print them and Velcro them. You can have your kid like just put like this morning, I helped a friend. This morning, I followed directions. This afternoon, I cried.
Mhm.
And there's no judgment. It's based on ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. And the point of doing this is helping your child to express their feelings in a non-judgmental way and just so that they're noticing it. ACT is based on mindfulness, which is an evidence-based practice. And what they found is that just being able to tact, to use ABA terminology, or label, your emotions or what you're doing, and just get kind of the praise and the recognition and the reinforcement of just saying, like, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I did. Thank you for telling me. And there's no demand after that. There's no expectation. That's not, well, you're crying, so I've got to fix it, which is hard.
Mhm.
I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, like you want to fix it, right? But this is just helping to say like it's okay to have whatever feeling you're having. And then that's great. And what are we going to do now? Want spaghetti? Like, there's no judgment. It's just helping your child to be able to express themselves. So there's some downloads for that you guys can all access. And then the one last thing I wanted to say, Kathy, is I think you had mentioned that like if people come to you through us, that there may be like some sort of way to get a discount or something like that. Did you want to mention that?
Yes, we have the founding members rate that we would offer. So right now, I believe I'd have to look at the lab, but I think it's $39 a month, and then I think it's $249 for a year, and our founding rate is 29 and then 199. So that's what we would offer to folks coming through you. For the
Awesome.
lab, and that's just for the lab. Our other services, Amon, that you were asking for are actually just very individualized. They really are based on that assessment. That would just be an appointment, and we do offer those complimentary consultations with our team. And I can put I'll just make sure my email's in here in case somebody wants to do that.
Great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.